There's an injury that shows up at the wrong time, my friend. And then there's an injury that shows up at the worst possible time. This Tuesday, August 4th, the Philadelphia Eagles put the pads on for the first time in this training camp. That's the day everybody inside that locker room waits for. That's when football stops being an exercise in choreography and turns into real contact, real collisions, real competition for a job. Reporters showed up at the Jefferson Health Training Complex, looked out at the field, started counting names, and then came the silence. One player was missing. Not just any player. Missing was the exact man this entire franchise bet its 2026 offense on. And the detail that makes it hurt even more is this. It isn't a mysterious absence. It isn't a scheduled rest day. It isn't a coaching decision. It's soft tissue. It's the kind of problem NFL medical departments hate with everything they've got. Because there's no surgery for it. There's no x-ray that solves it. There's no firm date on the calendar. There's only patience, caution, and the constant risk of coming back too soon and paying the price in the middle of September. In a season that has already been turned upside down. This is the last headline Philadelphia wanted to read. If you're a diehard Eagles fan, hit that like button right now and subscribe to the channel. Because today, I'm going to break down exactly how big this news really is. What the franchise is saying publicly. What this player's numbers reveal about the weight of his absence. And why the specific history of this type of injury in his career completely changes how you should read the situation. Let's get to the facts. When the Eagles took the field for the first padded practice of camp, the reporters in attendance noticed that number 6 was not out there. Shortly after, the information came out. A hamstring injury. The name of that player, the man who officially took over as Jalen Hurts' #1 receiver this season, is Devonta Smith. And he wasn't alone on that list. Rookie Mekhi Lemon, a first-round pick, was held out for the exact same reason, with the same diagnosis, in the same part of the body. According to reports out of Philadelphia, both injuries happened at Monday's practice, held indoors. In other words, both players walked into Tuesday already hurt, and the decision to hold them out was made before the team ever stepped onto the field. Smith and Lemon watched the session from the sideline, standing, observing. There was no cart, no dramatic exit in the middle of practice, no crutches. It was a quiet, administrative absence, the kind that slips right past you if you aren't counting heads. The official word came from Elliott Shore-Parks, a reporter for 94 Whip Radio, who said both receivers were out of practice with hamstring injuries and that there was no long-term concern for either one. That's the message the organization wants out there. But notice something important. There is no return timeline. No date was released. And anybody who has followed the NFL for any length of time knows the Eagles are historically conservative with soft tissue injuries. They hold the player back. They wait. They don't gamble. And why all that caution? Because a hamstring injury is treacherous. It doesn't warn you when it's coming back. It tends to reappear at exactly the moment the athlete believes he's recovered, when he truly accelerates for the first time, when he cuts at full speed on a deep route. And here's the critical point. Devonta Smith is a player whose entire value is built on burst, separation, and change of direction. He isn't a receiver who wins on physical volume. He wins with precise footwork and explosion out of the break. Take his hamstring down to 50%, and you've taken away the entire player. Now here comes the part that makes the problem bigger. This is not an ordinary camp in Philadelphia. This is the first camp under offensive coordinator Sean Mannion, who is installing a brand new system from scratch. System installation is not something you recover later. The reps Smith is missing right now. Learning the adjustments, the timing, the combined reads with Hurts are reps that simply don't come back. You ask me, how many installation days can a player miss before it shows up on the field on the first Sunday of September? Nobody knows. And that's exactly why this news is so uncomfortable. Add to that the most important context of all. Earlier this offseason, the Eagles traded A.J. Brown to the New England Patriots. For the first time in 4 seasons, this offense enters a year without the star who commanded the bulk of the targets. That is not a small detail. That rewrites the entire hierarchy of the offense. Without Brown to pull the double coverage, without Brown to occupy the deep safety, Smith stops being the second man and becomes the first name on the whiteboard for every defensive coordinator in the NFC. You think that adjustment is simple? It isn't. And it requires field time, it requires practice, it requires reps. And look at the resume of the man we're talking about. Devonta Smith is the 10th leading receiver in franchise history in receiving yards, with 5,019 yards for his career. To understand how impressive that is, that number sits just 15 yards behind A.J. Brown's own total in an Eagles uniform. 15 yards. The player who spent years being treated as the sidekick in that duo is, in practice, tied with the star on the club's all-time list. And he's also a Super Bowl champion in this uniform. That's the guy who was missing from the first padded practice. Last season, he led the Eagles in receiving yards with 1,008 yards on 77 catches. It was the first time since Brown arrived in Philadelphia that Smith finished the year as the team's leading receiver. In other words, even splitting targets, even without being the first option on paper, he's the one who carried the load. And the reports out of this camp before the injury were unanimous. While the offense as a whole was up and down, showing the natural growing pains of a new system, Smith was the bright spot. He was brilliant. He was consistent. And then, on the most important day of the first week, he disappeared from the field. And there's an element in his history that most of the analysis out there is glossing over. Devonta Smith is no stranger to this specific problem. He has dealt with a hamstring injury before, late in a previous season, one that cost him games and helped snap a streak of 1,000-yard years. And he went through a scare with that exact same part of the body on the eve of a Super Bowl, when the entire city held its breath until it was confirmed he would play. This is not an isolated case. It's a pattern that shows up from time to time in his career. And a pattern in soft tissue is the thing that scares a medical staff most. Meanwhile, who took the first team reps on Tuesday? The Eagles ran practice with their off-season additions, Hollywood Brown, Elijah Moore, and Dontavion Wicks. Alongside them, returning names like Darius Cooper, Johnny Wilson, Danny Gray, and Quez Watkins. It's a group with reasonable depth and with veterans who know how to play. But let's be honest, my friend. Not one of those names comes close to replicating what Smith delivers. Not one of them forces a defense to change its game plan. Here's the deal. Depth covers practice, but depth doesn't cover Sunday. And the list of absences that day went beyond the receivers. Lane Johnson missed a third straight practice, with the team calling it an excused absence and not injury-related. Rookies Micah Morris, with a shoulder issue, and Jaden Roberts, with a calf contusion, were also out, as were rookie linebacker Keyshawn James Newby, with an ankle problem, and rookie safety Cole Wisniewski, who is also dealing with a hamstring. It isn't a catastrophe, but it's a list that's already growing longer than any fan would like in the first week of August. Now let's be fair and transparent, because this channel doesn't run on panic. There are 4 points that need to be said clearly. First, the organization itself and the reporter who broke the news were explicit in saying there is no long-term concern for either player. That's not a small detail. Teams normally do not publicly minimize injuries they know are serious. Second, it's August 4th. The regular season opener is scheduled for September 13th, at home, against the Washington Commanders. That's more than a month on the calendar. There is time, there is margin, there is an entire preseason ahead to hold this player out, without him missing a single game that actually counts. Third, his absence from the first padded practice can be read as the exact opposite of panic. Philadelphia has absolutely no reason to expose the most important receiver on the roster to heavy contact in August over a muscle issue. Holding him out is the smart move. Doing anything else would be irresponsible. And fourth, the original report does not state the exact severity of the injury, does not give a return timeline, does not say whether he'll be back in days or in weeks. Anybody handing you an exact number today is guessing. The honest truth is that we don't know yet. So I want to hear your opinion, and I mean that. Do you believe this hamstring injury to Devonta Smith is just August caution, a 3 or 4 day thing? Or is it the first warning sign of a muscle problem that could keep bothering him during the season? And going deeper, with A.J. Brown out of the picture and a completely new offensive system being installed, what would be the smarter decision by Nick Sirianni? Holding Smith out for the entire preseason and sacrificing those chemistry reps with Jalen Hurts, or bringing him back as fast as possible so he doesn't miss the offensive installation? Drop it in the comments. I really want to read what you think. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back later to update you with the latest Eagles news.